Good morning and hello. My name is Mary Ann Barnett, and I'm the transition coordinator for the Wisconsin Educational Services Program for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing Outreach Team. Thank you for watching this segment of our virtual job fair. Today, we have the opportunity to learn all about Project Search from Paige Parr. I'm going to let Paige introduce herself and talk about Project Search.
Hello, like Mary Ann said, my name is Paige Parr. I work with the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation, or DVR, and I am the Project Search statewide coordinator. So my main role with the program is to work with National Project Search out of Cincinnati, Ohio, to make sure that Wisconsin is running all their programs as they should per the fidelity model with Project Search. So Wisconsin has 30 Project Search programs throughout the entire state. We last year increased our numbers by 3, and we're hoping in the future that we will also be adding a few more sites. This last year with the pandemic, things have not ran typically or how we would normally have Project Search run. So last year, out of our 30 programs, we had 20 programs run, which we were excited about that any of our programs could run this year. So we were happy with having 20.
I love it. Years ago, I've been in the position I am right now, transition coordinator. I've been in this position. This, I believe, is my 18th year. And it was one of my very first years. So probably 18, 17, right up at the top there years ago, I went to one of the Wisconsin transition conferences, and Aaron Reel, who is the one that started up Project Search, was one of the guest speakers and enthralled all of us with the whole idea. So the next question I'm going to have for you is going to be about that. But at that time, I want to say it was under 5 that we had in Wisconsin, and those first few Project Search sites that were established in Wisconsin, I was so excited about them. They were all in southeastern Wisconsin. So now if there's 30, I'm sure they've spread all over. So my next question to you is to please talk more about Project Search in Wisconsin, but specifically what Project Search is.
Sure. Like you alluded to, Project Search started in 1996 in Cincinnati, Ohio. Aaron Riley and Susie Rakowski had come together and said, we really need a program for individuals with disabilities. And how do we make that happen? They saw a need within the hospital, and they saw a need within their high school. So they really kind of paired the ideas together, and they came up with Project Search. So Project Search is a high school transition program. In Wisconsin, we also have 3 adult-only programs. So we have a wider range of individuals that we can connect with. It runs on a 9-month period. So typically our programs start around September and they'll end of May, early June. And they usually follow a high school calendar. Our adult programs run fairly similar. They usually start in October and end in August. But they will still follow that 9-month period of instruction time and skills training time.
And you said high school transition program. So again, when I remember hearing Aaron years ago, it was no high schools were included yet. It was you had to be out of high school already. So what are the ages that people can apply for a Project Search?
To apply for Project Search, you have to be 18 or turning 18 within the year of coming. A lot of the students typically come to our program within their last eligible year of high school, which means they've completed all their high school graduation credits in order to come to the program. So Project Search is not meant to give any credits for like math or English or gym or whatever they might need. So they really need to be completed with all of that before coming to the program. We really look at it as a capstone program. We really want it to be, this is our last thing we're going to do before we're going to really make that transition to adulthood and start working in the community. So many times they're doing their independent living courses prior to coming. We've had some that might do some of that while being in Project Search, but Project Search is a 40-hour-a-week program. They're there from 8 in the morning until 2 or 3 in the afternoon, and they're on site all day working it within the business. So a lot of our high school students are coming anywhere between 18 and 21, well, 21.999. And really what we have seen in Wisconsin is they're really coming between that 19 and a half to 21.
Fabulous. Can you talk about a typical day? Pick one of the sites that you're most familiar with and talk about a typical day if you are a Project Search client.
Sure. So like I had mentioned earlier, Project Search at most sites start at around 8 o'clock. So the individuals come per independent transportation, which means there's not a yellow bus bringing them. They're either using a family member to drive, they're driving themselves, a cab, a bus, whatever it's going to look like for employment, that's what they're using to get to Project Search. Once they get to Project Search, they go into their skills training room, which then they start their day with usually about 45 minutes to an hour of employment readiness training. So they're talking about resumes and interviewing. A lot of times they're preparing for kind of what that next step is for them. In the beginning, they talk a lot about work etiquette and what it means to be within a host business. So I don't think I've mentioned this. So Project Search is always within a business within the community. And the program takes on all of what the business does. So if you're employed at Children's of Wisconsin down in Milwaukee, you are doing what their employees are doing. You are expected to wear what their employees wear. We are expected to behave like an employee there. So they, in the beginning, really the first rotation, a lot of that is spent on questions and how do I meet those expectations. We also, so once they get done with the first hour of the day, they then transition into their rotation. So Project Search consists of 3 10-week work rotations within the host business. That typically goes for, they're working from about 10 until 1:30, 2 o'clock with a 30-minute lunch break and breaks as needed. But they really go based off of what rotation they're in. So if they're working in a sanitation area and every day all of the people they have it broken up where somebody takes the lunch from 11 to 11:30, then our interns would break with the department, not necessarily when their other peers are breaking through Project Search. We really want them to feel like they are part of that rotation while they're there. Once they complete their work rotation, they then go back to the skills training room, and there's usually about a 30-minute end of the day reflection of what happened today, what went well, what didn't go well, what do we want to work on tomorrow. Sometimes students need to bring stuff, or if they're transitioning into their next rotation, have to remember, okay, I might need new clothes this time, or I might need certain equipment to do my rotation. So making sure they're reaching out to the correct people. And then after they have that 30-minute reflection, and then they are dismissed for the day. So again, then transportation comes back, picks them up. Sometimes it's the same, sometimes it's different depending on what their needs are and where they're going. And then the one thing that a lot of our interns will say is there's no homework in projects that they really like. There's nothing really to take home besides kind of that reflecting and making sure they're sharing with their parents or guardians what's going on site.
So some of the Project Search sites that I had been familiar with in Wisconsin, a lot of them appear to be within hospitals because the hospitals were able to allow the different rotations that you were talking about. I remember when the Milwaukee County Zoo was up for discussion, and I'm going to assume that it was as popular as it sounds like it became, that a lot of students wanted to work at the Milwaukee County Zoo. In the meantime, I've also heard and have met, and that was one of the points I wanted to make, was we had our transition conference at the Kalahari. And one of the transition people from the Wisconsin Transition Improvement Grant went to the Kalahari managers and collected these youth who were currently working in the Project Search site at the Kalahari to talk about their experience there. That was way cool. So you had one student who was working in housekeeping and another student that was working at the front desk, kind of being a host and all that kind of stuff. And then another student, I think, was working in one of the food, in one of the kitchens for whatever the capacity was, whether it was within the restaurant or whether it was in the catering, I don't recall. In the meantime, I also heard way up north in Menominee, the Walmart distribution center way up north had a Project Search site as well. So it sounds to me like Project Search has also broadened its horizons, and it's not only within hospitals, even though I know that's where Erin and Susie had begun, was at the Cincinnati Children's Hospital. Can you talk about some of the sites within Wisconsin? But I'm just mentioned a few.
Sure. The majority of our sites are at hospitals, but with outside of hospitals, we also have manufacturing companies. Like you had stated, the Walmart DC Distribution Center, which unfortunately last year was our last year with them due to some changes that they were having and not being able to meet the demands of our students. So it's kind of neat how we transitioned out, but we are working on a new partner that we'll hopefully be able to share soon for that site. But we do have two other manufacturing companies within Wisconsin that are will be up and running next year. One had a break this year, and the other one had to use a different business to make the year run. We also have insurance companies that host our interns, which has been really neat because it's a whole different set of skills working within an insurance company and building rotations and seeing what our students can do there. We also are at the airport. I believe we are one of the only states that have a site at the airport. So that is really awesome. They have been really good partners in the Milwaukee area as well. So we get really excited when we get new and different businesses. We also have universities, which was not something that we had in the past, but more recently, more universities are kind of saying, oh yeah, this actually meets what our vision and missions are of what we do here. And in return, we're helping the campus as well as their students that are coming into different majors that work with individuals with disabilities to get a hands-on feel for what it would be like when they leave. So I believe we are at about 16 or 17 hospitals, and then the rest are outside businesses, and like I said, we're continuing to grow. Manufacturing is becoming a really kind of hot spot for Project Search in Wisconsin because we have so many manufacturing companies. So it'll be exciting to see where we go in the coming years with that.
Very cool. So if I have a student, I am down in southeastern Wisconsin, but I really, really, really would like to work at the Milwaukee County Zoo. Is there a possibility that can happen if it's not something in my, in my immediate neighborhood? How would I apply to something outside of my neighborhood?
Mm-hmm. So depending on the site, so some of our sites are high school students only, which means you have to go to the high school or be within the CISA of that area. So like the zoo and the airport, they're really specific to high school students because we have the demand of the student population to meet the needs to go there. We have about 15 sites throughout Wisconsin that are hybrid sites. So that means they take students and adults. So if they can't meet their needs with the student population, then they reach out to their adult population. We have had students open enroll into different school districts or use a 1066, and I'm not in education, so I can't explain what that means. But they use forms so that if other districts are interested, but not the hosting district, where we can have students come from other areas to different programs. It's just a matter of talking to your IEP case manager to let them know, hey, this is what I'm interested in. And then they usually can reach out to who the contact is at that Project Search. If they are out of high school, they really can go to any of the sites as long as it's a hybrid site, and or if they're looking at our adult only sites. So there's a little bit more option with the hybrid, and a lot of our sites are a hybrid site. It's just we have some that we have so many high schools, and we have so much interest from the high school students that they just haven't had to reach out to adults to fill the programs quite yet.
What is the oldest age that Project Search accepts to begin the program?
So it is specific for each site in Wisconsin. We work with the business to determine what they're comfortable with. So I think our oldest, if I'm remembering correctly, it was 46. But like I said, it really depends on the program and what the needs are of the program. Our adult programs can take older individuals because they are focused on that 18 and older. Our high school programs, we are really looking for an individual that fits within the needs of the program as well as the group. So I believe our older individual that we served was not at an adult site. They were at a high school site, but it made sense for them at that site. And that business said, yeah, we absolutely can serve them and help them. So it's really, I wouldn't say there's an age limit. A lot of our hybrid sites usually are up to that age 24 or 25, just because it makes sense with the individuals coming out of high school and where they're at and making sure they can meet their needs. Because our programs don't have the same typical supports that we would see at high school. There's usually maybe 2 or 3 staff members, and then the other supports are the business mentors. So we have to make sure that the group, we can support the group as a whole. But we have so many options in Wisconsin for individuals. So age really isn't a limit for us. It's if, do they make sense within our program, and can we help them gain employment?
I remember the 24, 25, 26. I'm remembering one of those as being the number back again years ago when I heard Aaron speak. So I love that Wisconsin has taken Project Search and has run with it and has broadened the horizons across the state, across the ages, and that kind of a thing. Is there anything, our viewers for this series are primarily going to be youth that are in high school along with their families and their educational teams. Is there any specific classes or tips that anybody could be working on while they're still in high school that would benefit them for employment, for the option of joining Project Search?
Yeah. So prior to taking this position, I was a DVR counselor, and I worked within the high school. So one of the things that I would work with my individuals with was getting them out in the community to try work. Project Search is a non-paid training program because it really is like a 1-year college program for employment. It's very specific to the employment goals that the individual has. So sometimes families are like, well, if we're with DVR, we're getting paid. Why would we then transition back? And I said, well, what's the difference if they were in high school working and then went to a 2-year program at a college, or a 1-year program at a college, or a training program? They're not getting paid to get those skills. The nice thing about Project Search you have a team of people that are funding it. So it's not coming out of your pocket. So I strongly encourage families to connect with DVR, to connect with if they qualify for long-term support, so that they can get some experience, because projects, we're really working on advanced skills. We might start, we always say our kind of the model is, sorry, I keep freezing, so I don't know if you're getting what I'm saying. We really want the skills that they're learning from Project Search to be complex and systematic, and we want them to be able to grow within our program. And so individuals absolutely can come to us without having any work experience, but I strongly, strongly encourage them to connect with the DVR within their area. If their high schools are saying, I'm not sure who that counselor is, there's somebody that can find out. If you go on and you go into Google and you DVR directory, our whole directory pops up and you can find who your person is in your area and you can get connected. It's right now, there's no wait list. There's very short wait time to get connected with DVR, and our offices are open. Our job developers are ready to go. So I think having some experience coming into the program can really benefit and take the program to the next level.
So everything that the student is learning through their transition programs at their high school is going to be a benefit, and connecting with their DVR counselor while they're still in high school would also be a benefit.
Mm-hmm.
Here at Outreach, we do promote connecting with your DVR counselor also, because with that WIOI, WIOI for interpreting purposes, the WIOA grant allowed a high school rep from DVR at each high school district. I love that. So there, like you said, all you have to do is Google it if you don't already know who your specific DVR counselor is, because every high school district has one. So
Mm-hmm.
I love that part of it. And I love that now that that Project Search is connected with yourself from DVR, so that it makes that whole transition that much smoother and not having to put in one more thing. That's
Mm-hmm.
very nice. Do you have any cool stories, a success story that you'd like to share with us, or something that you didn't expect that was going to happen that was really cool?
Oh man. I've only been in this position a little over a year. I took this position and the pandemic happened. So this whole year has kind of been mind blowing to me. Prior to that, I was a counselor and I worked in a hospital site. I came from an insurance site. Um, so I think one of the cool stories that stick out to me, and I share this when I'm in trainings or I'm just talking to sites when I'm like, I don't know, is this a good fit? Is it not? Is we had an intern and she came to DVR, I think she was a sophomore, and right away she told me it's going to be a cardiac surgeon. I said, okay, let's talk about it. Let's look at why do we want to do this? We did some more research. Then she's like, I'm going to be a phlebotomist. Okay, let's do some more research. Let's figure out where you want to go, how this is going to look. And I had talked to her family and said, I really think Project Search is going to be great for her. She's so social. She loves being around people, but there are just so many opportunities that are untapped yet. We haven't been able to try them just because one time is always against us, right? Things happen so quickly within a school year. Their schedules are, these high school students I work with, their schedules, I'm always like, how are you managing all of this? This is awesome. You have so much on your plate. But they're busy. And then when we talked about Project Search, they said, well, we want to go to Rapids because we want to be in a hospital. And I was like, whoa, don't leave my side. I want you to stay with me. So we talked about the different rotations within Century and how they could still link with what she's doing. So part of her work experience over the summer was at a memory care facility where she was working in housekeeping as well as dietary aid. And she also, just because her personality, she would help with some daily activities of the residents there. And she loved it. And it really came down to all these jobs is I really want to wear scrubs. I want a uniform. I want something that I'm proud of wearing every day going to work. I was like, oh, we have that. And so we talked about, so Century Insurance has this beautiful commons with a beautiful cafeteria. And he said, well, I think there's a lot of things she could learn in there if she is doing dietary aid work. And one of her hobbies on the side was baking. He said, I think we can kind of pull all that together so that, maybe we could talk about her doing some classes with the residents in baking or, just really trying to almost convince them that Century could still meet those needs. Although it's not a hospital, we have very similar rotations. The other thing they were concerned about is just her ability it was a small care facility. So she was there. She was also doing some room turnover, but her pace was a bit slower. I said, well, there's a gym at Century. They have a huge, like the YMCA type gym within their building. And he said they always need people in there to get their classes switched over. They have, 10 minutes between classes and they need assistance with that. So I said, I think we could get her speed up with just being more aware of her time and what she needs to get done. And I said, and then maybe the third rotation, we do what's called an externship, and we go off site and we look at a different business, and maybe that is the same care facility that she did her work experience in, or a different one within our community. So we got them to agree to come to Century, and she loved it. She was so happy being there. She loved working in the cafeteria was her all-time favorite because there were so many opportunities for her to grow there. But then after Project Search, the employer that she was working for the summer previously developed a position just for her there. And this is a very small care facility. It is not large. They don't have many employees, but they saw so much value in her being there and how much growth she's made because she would keep going in and volunteering with them, that they were like, well, we have to keep her there. We can't let her go. We have to figure it out. So they were able to, and part of being in Project Search is once you leave is working a minimum of 16 hours a week. All of our interns are at 20 hours or 25 hours during the time of Project Search. So 16 has kind of been our average when they're coming out. And so we really had to work with the business saying we really need 16 hours or more. And she had some other things going on too that we had to work around, but the business saw so much value in the skills that she gained from Project Search that they knew she was going to be an asset to their team long-term. And so the company developed a position and she's working there now and happy as can be. It's what she's always wanted. So that story always sticks out because it might not be what families think right up front. But once you really look at the skills they're gaining and how they can transfer that into the community, there's so many options for any of the interns that come to our program.
Great story. And as an educator and as well as a parent, you're always looking at your own, that one student, that one child, and you know what they're capable of. And until they have this opportunity to try this kind of job, just try it. And for the youth themselves, knowing I only have to do this for this, 10 weeks. That's what the rotation is, 10 weeks. And then you can evaluate as well what you liked about it and what you didn't and what we could do differently and that kind of thing. I love that. All that self-evaluation that you said happens at the end of each day too. Very cool. Do you have any words of advice or a closing comment for our audience?
I'm sorry, you froze on me, so I did not hear your question.
The question is, do you have any last words of advice or a closing statement for any of our audience watching?
I think if families are on the border, like, I don't know if this will fit, please reach out. We have if you go into Google, type in Project Search Wisconsin, our DVR website will pop up with our Project Search page on it. All my contact information is on there. I have families constantly reaching out saying, I don't know, I've heard about this, but I need a little more information. They don't want to go to their school yet. They don't want to go to DVR yet. They just want the information. And there is so much information out there. If you type in Project Search National, you can watch videos upon videos on their website to see what interns have done. Sometimes fear can get in the way of coming to Project Search because it's a big commitment. It's a year commitment of working on employment skills, but it is so beneficial. And if families are on the fence about it or not sure if there's one in their community or one in their area, please reach out. We have 30. I'm sure we can find one that your individual could go to. So please reach out and get the information needed. So that you can be part of our program.
Thank you so much for your time, your experience, and your expertise today, Paige. I hope you get lots of contacts.
Me too. Thanks, you guys.